Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out and to listen to our demands to this government. My name is Andrea Hazell, Member of Provincial Parliament for Scarborough-Guildwood and the Ontario Liberal Party. I am proud to stand here with the Toronto Youth Cabinet and students from across Ontario to fight back against these devastating cuts to OSAP. OSAP promised every Ontario student access to post-secondary education, regardless of their financial circumstances. This government is now breaking that promise, making it harder for students to afford their education. Students are doing their path. We can't ask them to do more. They are working, saving, sacrificing, trying to build a future right here in Ontario that is hopeless for all young people right now. Young people are being pushed into tens of thousands in debts as living costs skyrocket and stable jobs grow scarce. That's not opportunity. This government is setting up our young people to fail. This government cannot claim to support young people while making education less affordable. While students are buried in debt and driven elsewhere for opportunity, Ontario continue to fall behind and fail young people. So today, I stand with students across this province to bring back OSAP, to restore grants, to make education affordable again, because Ontario young people deserve a government that tells the truth and invest in their future. That means restoring opportunity for the next generation and making sure students have the support they need to succeed in Ontario. Thank you, and now I will call upon Kamita Sakunarajan, to the Executive Director of the Toronto Youth Cabinet, for her remarks. And I want to thank all these organizations and all these young leaders. They are our future generations, and we are going to get this right. We're going to make sure this government reverse their OSAP decision. Thank you.
Thank you, MPP Hazell, for your remarks and for supporting us here at Queen's Park today. Good morning and hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us today. My name is Kamita Sakunarajan. I'm a fifth-year student at the University of Toronto, Scarborough, majoring in International Development and Political Science. I also serve as the Executive Director of the Toronto Youth Cabinet. The TYC is the City of Toronto's official youth advocacy body, created by Council in 1998 with the mandate of representing Toronto's over 623,000 young people at Toronto City Hall. You may be wondering, why are we here at Queen's Park today, instead of our usual home base? When the government announced that they were looking to change the formula for OSAP, we were immediately inundated with young people concerned about what this would mean for their future, their ability to pursue further education. It's not just about youth in Toronto, it's about youth across the province. When a call to action is issued, we will respond in kind, especially when those issues will fundamentally alter the lives of youth and those who depend on these programs to support in building a better life for them and their families. Over the past month, the Toronto Youth Cabinet has been hosting regular meetings with students, student unions, community members, advocates, and allies to discuss the situation with OSAP and what we wanted to see done about it. That is why, in our open letter releasing later today, we are calling on the government to do the following. Number one, fully reverse the changes made to OSAP's funding model, restoring the grants-based model for all students. Number two, engage in greater transparency and accountability surrounding education-related decisions, including how and why OSAP is being impacted, and in integrating meaningful community consultation regarding education in Ontario. And number three, reinvest in Ontario colleges and universities to empower them to provide world-class education and training, matching investments made by other provinces and territories into the future of Canada's youth. Over the course of the next 30 or so minutes, you will hear from students across high school and post-secondary education. Their stories are not just rooted in their own lived experiences. It is rooted in what research clearly states. Investing in and making education accessible is a key driver of economic growth, and it is one of the best ways we can protect Ontario. Make no mistake about it. This isn't an issue that just affects students. It affects entire communities across the region, across generations. I'd like to invite our next speaker, Andrea Hazell, who is TDSB student trustee, to the podium.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Hazell, and I'm currently in my term as the elected student trustee for the Toronto District School Board. I'm also a grade 12 student attending R.H. King Academy, planning to attend post-secondary this September. This September, grade 12 students from across the province prepared for their post-secondary futures, many considering college and university. Students expected OSAP to be dependable, to help them avoid large amounts of debt. Instead, we were met with cuts to grants and increases to loans, setting students up for crushing debt. With close to 20,000 grade 12 students in the Toronto District School Board alone and 190,000 province-wide, the cuts will leave tens of thousands of students in generational debt and prevent many from attending post-secondary institutions at all. Changes to secondary education governance have taken local voice away from boards, and now these cuts to grants make university and colleges inaccessible, especially for low-income families and students. It's time for the province to invest in the future and make education transparent and accessible for all students. Students will suffer from tens of thousands in debt. It's time to give youth a chance, not take chances away from them. We need transparency in decisions, and we need them now. Thank you. Next, Renee Henderson, a student from St. Joseph's College School.
Thank you. My name is Renee Henderson, and I am a grade 10 student attending St. Joseph's College School. To quote, "You're picking basket weaving courses, and there's not too many baskets out there. Go into healthcare, go into trades, go into jobs in the future. Focus on STEM. Those are where the jobs are." Healthcare, STEM, and trades are necessary for us to survive and make our lives significantly easier. However, the arts, the humanities, the so-called basket weaving courses are necessary for us to thrive and enrich the quality of our lives. It may be a doctor or a scientist that saves your life, but it will be a movie, a piece of artwork, poetry, or music that makes your life much more enriching. The skills I learned in math and science are solving, calculating, and researching, but they are not more important than the collaboration, confidence, public speaking, and presentation skills that I learned in my drama class. According to Arts Council Ontario, there are more than 254,985 arts and culture jobs that contribute $27 billion annually to the provincial economy. In Canada, 93% of Ontarians believe that arts activities help enrich the quality of our lives. 2 years after graduation, there is a 93.5% employment rate for humanities majors. We have jobs. What we need is investment into our future. The changes made to OSAP will affect many students at the secondary and post-secondary level. By increasing the loans, student debt will also be increased, which can accumulate over time to thousands of dollars. There is a labor shortage, a growing unemployment rate, and according to CBC News, 2/3 of Ontario school boards are in deficit or close. We need to invest in our education system so that students can be confident no matter what their field. It should not matter what your income is or what you want to study. Everyone should have access to an affordable education. And now introducing Celine Ojig, TDSB Indigenous Student Trustee.
Thank you so much. I am the Indigenous Student Trustee of the TDSB, and I am Little K Dene and also Ojibwe from Wikwemikong. However, I am also someone whose family never got to graduate high school on time or at all. And this isn't because they were lazy or they didn't care, but it's because of a deeply rooted systematic issue that the government has with Indigenous education, stemming from residential schools. OSAP is a way for the government to reconcile, to give us a chance at forming positive experiences within schools, and yet Doug Ford strips that away. I had to leave home at 16 from intergenerational trauma, and I've lived independently as well as homeless, all while trying to stay in school. I've carried responsibilities that no student should while trying to succeed within a system that was never built for me. And yet through all of this, I still had dreams of going to university. I had dreams of becoming a lawyer and helping Indigenous people just like me, who are misrepresented. I had dreams, but now, how am I to get there when I'm not even sure if I'm able to afford dinner tonight? Not only has Doug Ford stolen my land and education, but he is stealing my dreams and generations of Indigenous people that I could have helped. And OSAP is not a charity. It is not generosity. It is the bare minimum after generations of violence. This could be the time for the government to finally choose differently and commit to real reconciliation. And yet you choose cuts. You choose to build more barriers for Indigenous students, and you choose to repeat history. But I will not allow this violence to continue, for I know resilience. Indigenous students are still showing up, and we are still learning, and we are still fighting for our futures. Imagine what we could do if we were fully supported. Imagine all the people Creator intended for us to be finally becoming. For the system finally stood with us, finally chose reconciliation. Thank you, Miigwech. And next up is Arpit Nagam.
So, Doug Ford mocked basket weaving courses, ignoring that for many First Nations communities, basket weaving is a complex and intergenerational art form. It carries stories, responsibilities, and relationships. Treating it as a joke shows fundamental misunderstandings of culture, of community, of the arts, while degrading First Nations culture in the exact same breath. Queen's Park is not Ford's palace, but is in fact stolen land from the original inhabitants of Canada. Poetically, his disrespect is one that demeans ancestors of ancient times through to the present. OSAP cuts reduced the non-repayable grants from 85% in 2019 to 25% this year. This will increase monthly payments for recent graduates by roughly 33% and force them into years and years of extra debt and repayment, along with additional interest. And most Canadians don't have $500 for an extra emergency. These cuts don't promote STEM. They simply make education increasingly harder to access. Ontario's culture sector, like was said earlier, is a major economic engine that has contributed $26 to $27 billion to the Ontario's GDP and supported over 270,000 jobs, according to the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and according to the Ontario Arts Council. In 2023, Ontario represented 43% of Canada's entire arts and arts, culture, and economic impact, contributing $28 billion to the GDP, supporting more than 458,000 jobs when you look at the secondhand opportunities created by this industry. More than 1 million Ontarians last year relied upon food banks between April 2023 and 2024. That is a 25% increase from just 1 year prior. And it is an 86% increase from 2019 to 2020. Clearly showing how deeply affordability pressures are crushing across the province. So, I hope I am loud and clear when I say students are in crisis. Students are among those struggling the most. Many rely on food banks, emergency aid, precarious housing, and so much more just to make it through the next day, week, month, let alone semester. In reality, this means skipping meals, relying on food banks, using emergency food aid, borrowing money, or taking on debt. just to be able to put food on the table. Politicians will point fingers at international students, but OSAP is not available to them in any form. OSAP is restricted to Ontario-based Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and protected persons. That's everyone. Which means this crisis for student affordability is entirely a made-in-Ontario problem. Cutting OSAP in this context is not just absolutely negligent, it is a political choice that pushes students deeper into poverty, debt, food insecurity, and housing instability. When a government mocks cultural knowledge, attacks the arts, guts financial supports students rely on to survive, it sends a clear message about whose future it values and who it is willing to sacrifice. So, to restate our policy demands, we want to fully reverse the changes made to OSAP's funding model, not to the 50%, to 85%, or ideally more. We want the Ontario government to commit to transparency and accountability in all education-related decisions, including how and why OSAP is being changed, and to integrate meaningful community consultation into the future of education in Ontario. We want Ontario to reinvest in colleges and universities so they can provide the world-class education and training matching the investments made by other provinces, because we are now number 10 in terms of funding our universities and colleges, and match the other countries that are in Europe who see education as something that is an actual investment into the future of not just our people, but into Canada's prosperity. Thank you very much, and I will leave it off with you.
We understand that Ontario is at a crossroads with where it wants to be in the future, especially given the changes that we are seeing around the world. And we are empathetic to attempts made by community leaders, advocates, politicians, decision makers to try and build an Ontario that they think works best for everyone. However, when students come out en masse to say this isn't going to work, it is our duty to listen to that and to hear them, because this isn't the only way. There must be another way, one that supports students, that centers them, and allows them to reach beyond what otherwise would have been possible. People have the right to pursue further education, and we cannot limit them in what they can do based off of finances, especially when we know that the return on investment will be so much more than what anyone could have imagined. We hope that by this press conference, the government can hear what it is that we are calling beyond the politics of everything, and hear the cries of students and support them in building a better life for themselves and in building a better Ontario. We're happy to take any questions that the press may have.
I wonder, one of your demands is for the government to reinvest in post-secondary education. They will answer that they are in the next budget. Don't quote me on the number, I think it's $6.4 billion over 4 years. So why is that not enough? How much would you like to see?
When we speak about reinvesting in colleges and educations, we are not only talking about the dollar amounts, we're also talking about bringing opportunity to students. What we've heard over the past few years is that many students feel like it's very difficult for them to access opportunities beyond their degrees. And yes, universities and colleges are facing a funding crisis. That's been very clear and very obvious for many years. We don't want to prescribe a dollar amount simply because the issue is so vast and so complicated that it requires a holistic approach to addressing the challenge. And education goes beyond the classroom. It goes into engaging with community, going into communities and actually living out your degree in what it is that you're studying. So when we call for the government to reinvest in education, yes, it means doing more a lot faster because universities need it. But it's also a call for the government to invest in opportunity, to make Ontario a world-class place for students to pursue their post-secondary education and to want to stay in Ontario after they're done. So these are the things that we have heard from over the past month from community leaders, from student unions, that they would like to see in their experiences with education.
We have talked. I'm sorry. Do you want to add something?
Yeah.
You have to come to the microphone.
Yes, sir. Also, for some additional context, it is really important to remember that over the last 6-7 years, we have had a freeze on tuition increases for domestic students. This has required universities to switch over to increasing tuition on international students at an exorbitant, unsustainable rate, especially given the limited number of student visas being issued by the government. That is the context we are working with. So universities' budgets across the board are being strained by that constraint. So we have to make up for those losses, and we also need to come and face the reality that the cost of creating this education has gone up considerably due to factors like inflation, increasing costs for rent, increasing costs for utilities, and the list goes on.
I feel like you've put your finger on what the government's argument is, that what they're doing is a recognition that, you know, there's a lot of costs involved right now. We have a potential trade war with the United States. The universities need a lot of money because they've lost their international students. And when we ask the Premier about this, he's the first one to point out that there has been a tuition freeze for many years at this point. So students have been able to avoid having their tuitions go up. Like, is that not a reasonable explanation for why they're doing this?
No, absolutely not. Because the truth is, the tuition freeze was a bit of a political stunt. It did not recognize the fact that universities across the board have to pay so much more for the top quality talent that is available at them. For OCAD, so many professors are underpaid. We have some of the least paid TAs in Ontario. And everyone who is there is doing it for the passion. And everyone is giving so much love and care for essentially bottom dollar. And if we are in a trade war, this is the time to invest. We are in a political climate where we have so many folks from everywhere else in the world, even down south especially, who are looking for other places to find opportunities. If we were to put even more money into the system so that we can hire that top quality talent that is looking for a new place to start with political policies to support them as academics, we will have such a positive outcome overall.
Can I just add to that? Just give me a second.
Yeah. So you guys already know that this government has underfunded colleges and universities from since they came on board. And so the last piece of funding that they give to colleges and universities, it didn't even make up for the deficit that the colleges and universities are facing. They had to let go so many teachers. They had to cut so many programs to survive before the government can, step in, before this government step in and give them some investments. My point is this government is going now after Billy Bishop Airport. This government is building a mega spa. This government has moved Ontario Science Centre and putting it into Ontario Place and making it smaller. I could talk about the unnecessary and non-priority projects that this government is doing. And I'm here supporting these students. Cutting from the students is not the right thing to do to make up for these cuts. Transportation. Every project, it's over billions and billions of dollars. Why go after the students and why cut the students? Thank you.
MPP Hazel, is there anything that the Liberal Party can do on the political side? The motion obviously didn't pass, so is there anything you can do here in Queen's Park?
So you know what we can do here? And that's a really, really good question. This government put in a lot of announcements and to let's stock the deck so, we can get, sway away with what he's really trying to do. We are going to keep the pressure on because he's touched the nerve of every family in Ontario. And I'm telling you this, what he's done to OSAP and is going to let these young people live in hardship, this will bring him down politically. And that is why we're going to use this opportunity. We're not going to stop. We're going to press it. We're going to do an opposition day motion to ask him to reverse OSAP today. So we are going to be doing that. We're going to keep pressing it. We're not going to stop. We cannot stop. This is our future.
Do any of you guys speak French?
Try.
Do we have any ideas of how many students are dropping out of their programs this year because of the OSAP changes, or how much years of extra debt? Do we have any hard numbers at all about what the impact on this is?
19,000 annually.
18,000 annually. 19. The number is 19,000 annually. And the specific numbers for industry is going to be extremely challenging. This is something that is going to not just have an effect today, tomorrow. This is something that is an intergenerational problem. Because if it's more expensive to pursue education now, that means fewer doctors in the future. That means fewer engineers. That means fewer people working in science, technology, energy, engineering, math, the arts, everything. And that economic impact is going to be massive and completely insane and extremely difficult to calculate the financial effects of, because this is going to have to be a decades-long projection.
We asked about the Premier yesterday, about the protest that's planned, I believe, for this afternoon. He sort of dismissed it as being kind of run by public sector employee unions. And I was just I don't know how true that is or not, but I'm just wondering, do you think you can mass a popular movement that will get the government to reconsider this, or do students not actually care enough to turn out to protest this?
Well, I guess we're going to find out later today. And here's the thing. Doug Ford says, it's by public sector unions. This whole thing is being organized by the Canadian Federation of Students, Ontario. That is how this is starting. It is a movement made by student unions, all of us working together. I am here with the OCAD Student Union. I have been on the forefront of this conversation for the past year in every way imaginable. That is the question. That is the challenge. And so if Doug Ford is out here telling us, it's just public sector unions, is just organized by those folks, you're wrong. And there are much stronger words I could be using today, right here, right now, to demonstrate that. But you'll hear those later today. Doug? Yep.
Students everywhere have been feeling the effects of what this announcement will mean for them. And there is very real discussions happening in our meetings within community about what this will mean for their ability to pursue further education. By every regard, and we've seen this on March 4th, and I'm certain we will see this later today, students have been showing up for this matter. At the cabinet, we always decide by vote when there is a particular issue that we need to advocate on. And this was a unanimous decision across the board that this was an issue that affected our membership, that affected young people. And even though it went beyond the city, it was significant enough where we would be remiss if we did not get involved, if we did not lend our support to students. Students have been vocal over the past month and a half about this policy change. So I have a very hard time believing the sentiment that students are not showing up and they're not showing out, because they have been and they are, and they will continue to do so until there is some form of reconciliation that happens.
And I'm pretty sure we'd all be up here with red squares if we were not allowed to wear like political demonstration materials.
When it comes to red squares, we saw a lot of them at the protest. I'm wondering, for you who've been involved with the student unions, has there been any talk of organizing strike votes within the student unions?
Absolutely, yeah. That is an active conversation that we are having, and I don't know the amount that I am allowed to share, but that is something that has been happening not just here with OCAD, not just with the University of Toronto, not just with York. It's happening everywhere. There are too many places that we can name, and everyone's pissed off. Absolutely everyone, because this affects everyone, including international students, because they're still going to have to face a lot of pressure from having to like pay more to make up for this deficit.
I wonder, Celine, maybe we could hear a little more from you. You touched a little bit on your personal experience and how you would be affected. Can you tell us a little more, like, are your choices changing because of the OSAP cuts? Or?
Yeah, for sure. So, as I mentioned, I did want to go into law for specifically, like, Indigenous communities because we are misrepresented within the justice system. And I have, like, battled homelessness these past couple months and stuff like that, and so I honestly haven't even been able to just like wrap my mind around university, like how, because it's so difficult for me to even just afford food and stuff like that. And so it's really baffling to have to try to find funding for whole universities, and there's part of me that's like giving up on it, but I know I'm staying resilient, guys. We got this. But yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to hear us today. We look forward to seeing everyone in front of Queen's Park for our protest with CFS Ontario and student unions across the province. So hope everyone has a good day, and we'll see you out there.